and now communication. Mujtaba's missile weight.
An Iranian strike has reportedly hit critical digital infrastructure in the Gulf, with the Amazon cloud computing facility in Bahrain sustaining damage, according to a report by the Financial Times. The facility is part of Amazon Web Services, which operates regional data centers supporting businesses, governments, and digital services across West Asia. While the extent of the damage remains unclear, any disruption to such infrastructure carries implications far beyond a single site. This marks a significant shift in the conflict. Until now, most reported strikes have focused on military bases, logistics hubs, and energy infrastructure. Targeting or even impacting cloud infrastructure signals a move into the digital backbone of economies, where data, communications, and services are hosted.
Du möchtest wissen, wo die Immobilienpreise gerade fallen, wo sie vielleicht gleich bleiben oder wo sie weiter steigen. Tatsächlich gibt es alle drei.
Bahrain is a key regional node for cloud services, and AWS facilities there support a wide range of operations, from financial systems to government platforms. Even partial disruption could affect connectivity, data access, and service continuity for organizations across multiple countries. The development also aligns with Iran's recent rhetoric, where it accused major U.S. technology firms of enabling surveillance and operational support for U.S. and Israeli actions. The reported strike suggests that corporate and technological assets may now be entering the conflict's target set, whether directly or as collateral. There has been no official confirmation from AWS or U.S. authorities on the scale of the damage or any service outages so far. Iran has issued a sweeping and unprecedented warning to major American corporations, signaling a potential escalation of the conflict beyond military targets and into the corporate and technological domain. In a statement on Tuesday, the IRGC said 18 major U.S. companies, including global tech giants, could be targeted in upcoming strikes, accusing them of assisting U.S. and Israeli operations inside Iran through espionage and technological support. The list named companies such as Apple, Google, Meta, and Microsoft, along with hardware and infrastructure players like Intel, IBM, Cisco, and HP. Other names included Tesla, Nvidia, Oracle, JP Morgan Chase, and Boeing. The IRGC alleged that these companies, particularly through their artificial intelligence and internet communication technologies, have played a role in enabling surveillance, intelligence gathering, and targeted operations inside Iran. It accused them of being part of what it described as a broader espionage network supporting U.S. Israeli actions. The warning came with a specific timeline. The IRGC said reprisal attacks could begin from 2000 Iran time on April 1 and claimed that offices and assets linked to these companies in the region would be annihilated. It also issued a direct advisory to employees to leave workplaces immediately and urged civilians living within a 1 kilometer radius of such facilities to evacuate. Until now, Iranian strikes and threats have largely focused on military bases, logistical infrastructure, and strategic assets linked to the United States and Israel. By explicitly naming multinational corporations, particularly in the tech and finance sectors, Iran is signaling an expansion of the conflict into the economic and digital domain. Tehran has repeatedly vowed retaliation not only against direct perpetrators, but also against entities it considers complicit. The Middle East war escalated once again amid Donald Trump's claims of serious negotiations with the Iranian leadership. Trump shared a video of a massive explosion in Iran, which media reports claim took place in the city of Isfahan early Tuesday. On the other hand, Iranian missiles hit central Israel as the Iran Dome failed to contain the massive barrage. Trump did not provide any context of the video, but media reports claimed that it was the U.S. and Israeli joint strikes on a major ammunition depot in Isfahan. According to a U.S. official cited by the Wall Street Journal, the ammunition depot was hit with 2,000-pound bunker buster bombs. Earlier on Tuesday, Iran fired missile salvos at central Israel. Israeli Medical Emergency Service, Magen David Adom, claimed it had not received any reports of injury. The Israeli Defense Forces claimed the missiles were either intercepted or allowed to fall in open areas. The U.S. Central Command posted on the social media platform X video of military strikes in Iran. The post read, U.S. forces continue to eliminate the Iranian regime's ability to project power in meaningful ways outside of Iran's borders. The strikes took place amid a Wall Street Journal report which claimed that Trump signaled he was ready to end the U.S. military campaign against Iran. U.S. President Donald Trump is now signaling that he is ready to end the U.S. military campaign against Iran. A bombshell report by the Wall Street Journal, citing officials within the Trump administration, says the president has told aides he is willing to end the war even if the strategic Strait of Hormuz remains largely closed. The comments mark a stunning shift in Trump's strategy, as he now appears to view reopening the world's most critical oil artery as no longer essential to ending the war. According to the report, Trump and his aides assessed that a mission to reopen the choke point would extend the conflict beyond his preferred timeline of 4 to 6 weeks. With Iran showing no willingness to halt its attacks, Trump has decided that the U.S. should focus on achieving its primary goals, weakening Iran's navy and reducing its missile capabilities, before winding down hostilities and applying diplomatic pressure on Tehran to restore the free flow of trade. If that effort fails, officials told the publication that Washington is expected to push allies in Europe and the Gulf to take the lead in reopening the strait. Nearly 20% of global oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz, which is now effectively under Iran's control. The longer the strait remains closed, the greater the disruption to the global economy, with rising fuel prices and supply shortages already impacting multiple countries, including key U.S. allies. Industries dependent on materials like fertilizer and helium are also beginning to feel the strain. Over the past month, Trump has delivered conflicting messages on the issue. At times, he has taken a hard-line stance, threatening to strike civilian energy infrastructure if the strait is not reopened by a set deadline. At other times, however, he has downplayed its importance to the United States, suggesting that its closure is a problem for other nations to resolve. Suzanne Maloney, an Iran expert and vice president at the Brookings Institution, called ending military operations before reopening the strait unbelievably irresponsible. She warned that the U.S. and Israel cannot walk away from the consequences, adding that energy markets are global and the economic damage will worsen significantly if the closure continues. Meanwhile, Trump's push to end the war quickly appears to contrast with recent military movements. The USS Tripoli and the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit have entered the Middle East, while elements of the 82nd Airborne have been ordered to deploy. The administration is also reportedly considering sending an additional 10,000 ground troops. On March 20th, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said the U.S. was working towards restoring normal operations in the Strait, though she did not list it among the core military objectives, which include targeting Iran's navy, missile capabilities, defense industry, and nuclear program.
Positive Zimmerman Access Record.
On Iran, I know that it's tough to engage in hypotheticals, but I feel like this is one that you could engage in if the president does seek.
Probably not.
If the president does seek, or the United States seeks a ground war, does he intend to get congressional authorization of that?
The president has, to the launch of Operation Epic Fury, as you know, the administration gave a courtesy notice to Congress in the Gang of Eight, and top-level administration officials and cabinet secretaries have gone to Congress multiple times over the past 30 days to provide those courtesy briefings to Congress when requested.
The president continues to say the U.S. is in conversations with a more reasonable regime, but there are now hundreds of U.S. Special Operations Forces, including Navy SEALs and Army Rangers in the Middle East, as well as thousands of other troops already deployed. So is he trying to end or intensify the conflict?
The president is focused on achieving the objectives of Operation Epic Fury. With respect to forces that are on the ground in the Middle East, it's the job of the Pentagon to create maximum optionality for the commander-in-chief. It does not mean the president has made any additional decisions. Again, he remains focused on ensuring that the Pentagon continues to achieve the objectives of the operation that was launched 30 days ago, and we're well on our way to doing that.
So if an American is sitting at home hearing him say, I want to talk, but I keep seeing them send troops to that region, what are they to make of what's going on?
There's two tracks here. The president has always said that diplomacy is his number one option and priority. Again, he tried earnestly, in good faith, to engage in diplomacy with the Iranian regime prior to this operation being launched in the first place. He wanted to strike a deal, and he sent his top negotiators to do so. They spent extensive amount of time and effort trying to strike a deal. And unfortunately, the previous regime, again, many of those leaders no longer with us here on Earth because they faced the consequences of the United States military. So if there's ever a chance for a deal, again, the president is open to listening, but it does not deter him from focusing on the military objectives that he set out 30 days ago and that our military is continuing to achieve day by day.
And on Iran, if Iran is kind of cherry picking what tankers get to go through the Strait now and contemplating big tolls on those tankers, is that consistent, or how is that consistent really with the president's message about really wanting the Strait to be fully open? Does the administration support a regime or system where Iran is effectively charging tolls on these vessels to access?
That's not something we support, and I would reject that they are cherry picking. In fact, as you know, these tankers that are moving through, the 10 that were previously announced and now the new 20, the announcement of 20 additional tankers, which we expect to see over the coming days, are a result of the direct and indirect talks that are taking place between the United States and Iran. So you wouldn't have seen those tankers if not for the president's diplomacy and his team engaging on this matter, which we expect that compliance moving forward. And it's, again, something that we're working on very closely.
On the time frame, President Trump initially said about 4 weeks. Secretary of State Rubio on Friday reportedly said it might be another 2 to 4. Is 2 to 4 the current ballpark that the administration is thinking?
With respect to the timeline, again, the president, commander-in-chief, the Pentagon has always stated 4 to 6 weeks estimated timeline for Operation Epic Fury. We're on day 30 today. So again, you do the math on how much longer the Pentagon needs to fully achieve the objectives of Operation Epic Fury, which I will reiterate: destroy the Iranian Navy, destroy their ballistic missiles, dismantle their missile and drone production infrastructure.
Wirst du auch wahnsinnig von Bits, die durchdrehen, abbrechen oder die Schraube einfach nicht richtig greifen?
Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has claimed that 37 U.S. officers were killed in a strike in the UAE as part of the expanding Wave 88 of Operation True Promise 4. According to the IRGC statement, the strike targeted what it described as a gathering of U.S. military personnel near Al Minhad Air Base in Dubai, where around 200 American troops, including senior commanders, were allegedly present. The location, Iran claims, had been identified through intelligence before being hit by a combination of drones and tactical missiles. The IRGC further alleged that U.S. Marines at the site were operating outside formal military bases and attempting to conceal their presence within civilian areas. In the same announcement, Iran outlined the broader sequence of operations under Wave 88.
The IRGC Navy in 5 extensive and far-reaching operations utilizing a combination of ballistic and cruise missiles and destructive drones successfully annihilated prominent military targets of American Zionist enemies within the region. In the very first offensive operation carried out by this force, 2 early warning radars, which were under the control of American forces in the region and had been deployed on a marine structure located in the waters and islands of the Emirates, were successfully destroyed with extremely high precision. An oil tanker belonging to the illegitimate Zionist regime named Aqua 1 was also targeted in the Central Persian Gulf during a missile exercise by the brave naval forces of the IRGC and is currently burning. Since dawn today, several waves of destructive drones were fired towards the distressed Abraham Lincoln carrier group in the northern Indian Ocean. According to documents and satellite images, this carrier group has fled its previous location and retreated into the depths of the Indian Ocean. It is worth noting that according to precise intelligence reports, as a result of yesterday's IRGC Navy attack on the secret gathering place of American officers in the Emirates, 37 people were confirmed killed and many were also injured and transferred to city hospitals. The Army of the Islamic Republic of Iran, starting early this morning, launched drone attacks on the deployment site of U.S. Sukhoi supply aircraft at Ben Gurion Air.
On an Israeli-linked container vessel, Haiphong Express, in the Central Gulf, which the IRGC claims resulted in a direct hit. This was followed by the coordinated strike in the UAE, indicating a multi-phase operation targeting both maritime and land-based assets. However, U.S. officials, the UAE, and other sources have not independently confirmed casualties, damage, or the specifics of the alleged strike, but it reflects Iran's attempt to project deep operational reach and precision targeting capability, particularly in areas previously considered relatively insulated from direct attack.
Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, has claimed major attacks on United States pilots and fighter jet crews in Saudi Arabia. IRGC's Brigadier General Sayed Mayyid Musavi claimed the Iranian military targeted the residences of 200 U.S. pilots and personnel at the Al-Kharj area in Saudi Arabia with missiles and drones. Musavi claimed that a U.S. AWACS aircraft was also destroyed, while several other American jets were damaged in the strikes. Iran has bombed U.S. bases across the Middle East in retaliation for the American and Israeli strikes, forcing American troops to relocate to hotels and office spaces throughout the region. According to a New York Times report, the IRGC has also urged the IRGC Navy also claimed major attacks on naval vessels, military meetings, radar installations, and drone defense systems in the region. In the United Arab Emirates, a U.S. Marines meeting in a coastal area was targeted by drones while moving outside a military base. Near Bahrain's Manama Airport, a U.S. Fifth Fleet Hawk anti-drone system outside a military base was also reportedly destroyed by drones. In Kuwait, 2 early warning radar systems at the U.S. military base in Ahmed al-Jaber were also destroyed by Iranian drones. The IRGC has already warned that the offices of the 18 largest U.S. tech companies in the region would now be targeted. The attacks come as Donald Trump said the U.S. military would leave Iran in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
I think we 2 or 3 weeks. We'll leave because there's no reason for us to do this. Look, probably the straight. A guy can take a mine, drop it in the water, and say, oh, it's unsafe. It's not like you take it out of